Hello. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about self-transformation. Yeah, this is Book Talk at Book Place, and I'm your host, Anthony Moirore. Today we have a great guest with us who's going to talk about her book. And her name is known as Evelyn Michael. She's going to be here shortly. And I know we have a great experience here today. So I ask you to stay tuned. If you have a question, if you have a comment to make as we are moving on, we'll thank you for taking your time being here. And so send us your question, comment, or just anything. Please remember to follow wherever it is that you're watching us from. Share this video with other people, subscribe, and we appreciate. If you'd like to see past episodes and future episodes talking about books, you can always go to bookplacemedia.com. And now, without taking one more minute, I'm going to take you with me. I'm going to take you with me to go and meet our guest today, who is known as Evelyn Michaels, to talk about insights for self-transformation. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Hello, Evelyn.
Hello, Anthony.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here today talking to you.
Yes, and I'm happy to have you on our episode today. Thank you for coming to Book Talk.
You're welcome. I'm
And you're
happy
looking
to.
good.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
Yes, you're looking really good. Now, can you tell us where you are?
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Beautiful.
I've lived for a long time, so it's like home. I'm
Oh,
originally
yeah.
from the Midwest.
Okay. And when you talk about living there for a long time, I can tell from your looks that you are not as young as I am. So,
That's
how,
true.
how long have you walked on the face of the earth?
I had 92 years.
92 years.
Yes,
And you are an author.
that's right. I started writing this book 3 years ago. I had a dream, and the dream told me to write this book because I've been working with clients for 35 years, in fact, over 35 years.
Mm.
And I had this dream for me to write the book about things that I've taught my clients, things I've learned for myself over the years. And so the next day, I started writing the book. And
Wow.
3 years later, now the book was just published in December.
Is this your first book?
No, I wrote another book having to do with kinesiology 20 years ago.
Okay. Beautiful. Now, it's good. And I am always excited to talk to someone like you right now, talking about 92 years and writing a book and passing back the knowledge that you have acquired all the years, the experiences that you've been through, letting us just have the glimpse of it and enjoy that golden time that you've had. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, yes, I'm so happy to bring good news today because so many people have so much pain, unhappiness, problems, and they don't really know that there's a way to let go of that pain and
Mhm.
feel better. And so I have a technique that I've written about in the book. It's called ETT. That's an exercise for transformational techniques, and in this, it shows how to go in, and I ask the person questions, and they visualize different things about their feelings. They find out where it is inside, and try to put a label on it. Like for instance, the fear of failure, or
Mm.
needing disapproval, a fearing that, and having self doubt. There's so many different fears. I have listed in the book 31 different main fears and the definition of those fears. And
Mm,
most people, they aren't even dealing with the fear. They're dealing with the symptoms of their fears because they were never taught how to go inside and connect to those fears and what they are. And you have to do that if you want to let it go, because that's where the problem is on the inside, not outside. That's just the effects.
wow. So we have been dealing with the wrong things. And now take it from me that we are going to listen very keenly because you've been there, done that, experienced it, and then
Right.
you're coming back to tell us. So I'll be very attentive. Actually, I have a pen and paper. Can I see your book? Can I see your book? I know you have it with it there. Can you show us your book?
Oh, here's my book.
Yes, that's Insights for Self Transformation, a treasure map to peace, wisdom, and love by Evelyn
That's
Bad
right.
Michaels. That's a beautiful book, a beautiful
Thank you.
cover. By the
Thank
way,
you.
who did your cover?
Uh, a lady by the name of Joanne
Okay,
did, did the book.
it's a beautiful cover. Tell her that
Thank
you
you.
she did a good job.
I thought she did too.
Yes, now let's dive into what is inside there because I can't wait to take in some notes. Tell us what it is that we need to know about this book. So before you go and get it.
Uh, well, one of the things is to learn how to go inside and find out what you're feeling and what's going on. You know, everything is energy. And all emotions and things have a vibration to it. And that vibration is either negative or it's positive. So if it's the negative energies like our fears, the anger, the upset, the unhappiness, jealousy, these kind of things cause negative energy. And they're inside of us if we're having negative thoughts or negative actions or fears. And we need to go in there and look at them, feel them, accept them. Most people are trying to push away their fear. They
Mm-hmm,
rid of it. They want to get over it. They want to distract themselves. They want to escape. But it is accepting it and embracing those emotions is where the key is to letting them go. And if you will fully embrace those feelings, the vibration dissipates because you're no longer feeding it energy and you allow it to let it go. So
mm,
the techniques of how to do that. And I've done it with clients over the years and myself, and it really works.
mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Now I discovered that you've and because we are going to dive into all those, and you talk about embracing to let it go. And that's interesting. I haven't heard that before. Embrace to let.
Really? Really? Well, it's not in generally known because we
Yeah.
haven't been taught to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, people people don't realize they have fear most of the times. What
Yeah.
did they do instead is they worry, uh, they have a drink, or they take drugs, or they get angry, or they blame, or they criticize. They do activities that are symptoms of the fear, but the cause is the fear. My definition of fear is it's the anticipation of pain or unfavorable results. And the
Mm,
key word there is anticipation because anticipating means it isn't here yet, it's not real.
mm,
So they're afraid of what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. So it's about getting in touch with that.
and you talked about listing the fears, about 30, you said 35 or something, 30 something fears. Can you give us an example of some of them, some of the fears?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fear of death, fear
Mm-hmm.
of loss, losing someone, a divorce, separation, uh, lack of self confidence, the lack of ability to feel that you can succeed and do that. You're afraid you're not going to get that job.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's also jealousy, which is afraid of competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's self doubt. There's many, many different kind of fears. There's about 31 of them. Fear
Mm-hmm.
of being homeless, fear of not having enough money, fear of not being good enough. That's a common one.
Mm-hmm.
And So what happens then? People build defenses. We learn to do that when we were a child. So
Mm-hmm.
we learn to defend our fears because we don't like to feel the pain of the fears. So what a person will do a lot of times when they're upset and they're feeling fear, they'll blame somebody else or some other situation. They'll use a defense. So there's two types of defenses. There's
Mm-hmm.
hostility, which has to do with rage, anger, irritation, annoyance, upset, or there's escape defenses.
Mm-hmm.
Escape defenses is when you use alcohol, drugs, smoking, workaholic, overeating, isolation, trying to get away from feeling those feelings. And
Mm-hmm.
most people tend to do one or the other more, but most people have a few of both.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's only when you can give up those defenses, and you have to become aware of what your defenses are, that you're going to be able to dissipate that negative energy of the fears, because you keep feeding them inside
Mm-hmm.
by that energy. When you have fear inside, there's an energy, a vibration to that, and then we attract from the outside what matches the level of that vibration. So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, if you have anger, you're going to attract something to cause you to be angry. It might be
Mm-hmm.
stub your toe, it might get in an argument with someone, have an accident, and you'll turn to anger as a defense so you don't have to feel what you're really afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
So the key is to realize the real cause is inside of you. You're attracting outside what matches on the inside.
Mm.
And you've got to go inside to heal that so that you don't have the energy to attract those kind of experiences with those kind of negative emotions. So that's the healing.
Okay, and how do we go about healing? That's what we would like to know.
Well, I ask people several questions. For example, let's say you've had a loss and you're very sad about that and upset. And so I'll ask the person, well, what is the fear? What is going on? What are you feeling inside? And a lot of times people will say, I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I just know I'm unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them go inside, and sometimes if they can't hook onto what it is, I'll say, well, where do you feel uncomfortable inside? Where do you feel sore? Where do you feel tight? Where's those just uncomfortable feelings? And I'll have them pinpoint that. And then I ask them to go inside and be with it. In other words, you want to love yourself and love that fear and love what's inside of you as if you were a tiny little baby and you're holding and embracing it. You want to embrace that part of you and fully accept it, and then stay with it by just surrendering and not trying to push it away, but just being with it. In that is the magic of the healing, because there's no longer the negativity of pushing it away or getting rid of it. It just disappears. I've had success with my clients, and if you do it properly, every time let's say a feeling is a 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, it'll go down to zero.
Mm.
Now that doesn't mean it doesn't come back again,
Mm-hmm.
because there can be more layers of it, and some experience will trigger it and push your buttons, and it'll come back up.
Mm.
Then you just process it again and again until finally there's nothing that comes back up, as long as you're not feeding it. Now, when you
Mm.
use defenses, you're feeding that fear because you're trying to push it away. You're not accepting it. You're not being with it. So, therefore, you're just producing more negativity.
Hmm. Now, when you use the analogy of a child, I kind of get it, because I said before I've not heard about embracing your fears before. Now, I kind of get it because I understand that some of the activities, some of the responses, and some of the actions of the children, that when they are doing bad, I mean, when they are responding in a way that is not pleasant, that is not welcome, they need love. That's why what
That's right.
I came to learn. They need love. So when you embrace them, if they've been rebellious, if they've been uh, doing things that are not welcome in the house, then they feel that love, and then they become, they kind of transform, they change. So I kind of get that.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Ah, wonderful. Now, I discover that you've set your book in chapters, in sections, not rather chapters. You have sections, section one, section two, section three, like that. And your first section, it talks about transformation and healing the past. Uh, so, how do you go about healing the past and making it your journey to transformation?
One of the most important things to be in your power is to be able to stay in the present.
Mm-hmm.
When our mind, we're thinking about the past, if something happened, some experience, being upset about it, we're just wasting our time because we don't have any power to change the past. It's over with. And the
Mm-hmm.
same thing is with the future. If we go to the future isn't here yet. We have no power to deal with that. So we need to be able to train our mind to stay focused in the here and now. And that takes exercises, time, practice to do it. One of the great ways to learn to do that is to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And so you train your mind because what you're thinking is going to be what you're attracting. And if you're not aware of what you're saying and what you're thinking in your mind, then you have no control over it. You're just at the mercy of whatever thoughts come into your head. And most of us, our actions are based on about 90% of pre programmed uh, information.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really aware of everything we're doing. People don't.
Mm-hmm.
So to deal with the past is training your mind of how to stay in the present and figure out what you want to do right now. What do I need to do today to be constructive?
Mm-hmm.
And every day I suggest to people that they look back over their day and for like 10 minutes and say, how was my day? Did I get upset with anybody? Did I get angry? Uh, where is it that I need to tend to so I can change that so it's not a repeat of the next and the next and the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So by looking at that, you can look what you need to do differently. Another thing, people do a lot of negative self-talk. I can't do that. That's too hard. Uh, I'm afraid I'll fail,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm stupid. People say that and they don't realize it. So what you're saying to yourself and what your thoughts are again going to attract whatever is going to happen in your life. The kind of people you meet, the kind of activities, the choices that you have, it's going to affect it depending on what your thoughts are. I know people have heard that a lot, but I can't say how much I can emphasize it of how true it really is.
Mm. Yeah. So what should I start saying from today?
Well, first you could start meditating.
Okay.
Meditating is where you go inside and learn how to control your mind by observing. It's like the part of us that can observe doesn't dive into the negativity. It allows us to stay calm, stay focused, and see what's going on and make our choices wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas most people are reacting or into resistance, pushing away, not wanting this to happen, not wanting that to happen, instead of being able to choose and act and accomplish things successfully that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you talk about it being an ongoing process. And again, you say that the opportunities for self transformation are everywhere. Can you tell
It
us about
it
that?
is.
Uh-huh.
Another thing I want to share is about how we talk to our unconscious mind. How you think directs your unconscious mind, and that's and what to do. But a lot of people have never been trained on about how to talk to their unconscious mind. So some simple rules in that is one, keep it very simple and state what you want in the positive. State what you do want because the unconscious mind does not know what the word not means.
Mm,
So if you say to a little kid, don't go out in the street and play, they don't hear not. What they hear is go out in the street and play
mm,
because we our brain works by using our senses. We hear and we visualize. But how do you visualize not going out and playing in the street? So instead, you say it in a positive way, and you say, "You go, you know what? I want you to play here in this green, grassy area in the yard." Now they can visualize that, and they can direct their unconscious mind what to do.
mm-hmm,
So it's important to communicate that with others and ourselves as well. And it needs to be stated in the positive. So state what you do want, not what you don't want. because
Mm.
that's what your unconscious mind will hear.
And I want to guess that this goes even to talking to other people, and especially young kids, because this is where we are programmed into the future. And telling the children, don't go play out in the rain. You get sick. Now that
Right, right,
that's
right,
wrong, I guess. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we start getting programmed from the time we're born,
Mm-hmm.
and we learn so many things that what our parents did and what we see others do. So people get programmed at a very early age, and they kind of live on those programs, those beliefs, those values for the rest of their life, unless they consciously stop and look at what they're doing, what they believe, what they think, and change it.
Mm-hmm.
The good news I have today is we can change it. And there is a way to eliminate pain and deal with fear in a positive way.
Mm. Change is possible. So says
Change is
Bye.
possible. And, I went through life, all these things that I know, I went through myself and had to learn them. So I
Mm-hmm.
know what it is to struggle, but this book is kind of like a roadmap that shows you different steps that you can take to accomplish a successful end. I just kind of went here and there and had to find out the hard way about doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Another important thing is creating positive energy. I said how fears and all that creates negative. You can create positive energy by being appreciative, being thankful, and enjoying, having gratitude about what you have in your life. I know
Mm-hmm.
I would do an exercise to practice this. I would ask myself, I'd say, well, what's good about this heavy, heavy rain? So
Mm-hmm.
you train your brain to go to look at what's good about it because there's always a negative side to everything and a positive side to everything. So which one are you focusing on? So I would say, okay, the rain, it washes everything. It gives us water to water our plants. It gives us drinking water and all of the ways that the rain enriches us. So I would just pick different things and focus on what's positive about it. And so you
Mm-hmm.
can do that with everything in your life. So when you're thinking about the positiveness, you're creating positive energy. And again, that's going to attract more positive to you.
Mm. Uh, and thank you for that. Now, with your experience, I'm going to ask you a hard question, but I know that you're ready for the challenge. Now, you talk about finding the positive in everything, and when you say everything, it's everything. In the recent past, we've been through some hard challenges. Like we've had COVID in the last 3 years or so,
Right.
and then comes the economic turmoil that is going on around everywhere. What is the good? What good can we find in that?
Well, I felt very fortunate for the things I had during the COVID time and
Mm,
during the lockdown and everything. First of all, we have a lot of things to be appreciative of. For instance, just talking about for myself, I had a home, I had food, I had a bathroom, I had running water, I had a car, I had gasoline to get in it, I had television, I had my health. That was most appreciative about that.
mm,
And so it's to look at what you do have, but many times the person just gets focused on what they don't have and what's a problem. And if you look at what's problems, you're just going to attract problems. You're
mm,
just going to attract more of that sort of thing in your life.
mm-hmm,
So when I was a kid growing up on a farm in Iowa, we didn't have running water, and we didn't have gas,
mm-hmm,
and we didn't have all those modern. We didn't have an inside toilet. So I can be appreciative today because I know what it's like not to have that, and when I have it, I can find happiness in just the fact that I have all those conveniences and those wonderful things in my life now that I
mm,
didn't have then. My
mm,
goodness, when I was growing up, we didn't even have television.
yeah.
We had a telephone that
Mm-hmm,
come in, and the telephone was on the wall. And the telephone, you could tell it was your call if it rang so many certain rings. Ours was one long ring and three short ones. Then we knew to go answer and say hello. But if you talked on that phone, everybody in the neighborhood could hear you because it was just one big open line. Now I
wow.
can appreciate having a private phone of my own and a cell phone to carry everywhere with me. Didn't
Mm.
have those in those days.
Wow, wow, wonderful, wonderful. Now, talking about in section 3, living our best lives, and these are insights on how to thrive, how to be successful. How do we go about this?
One is change your energy. Your energy needs, if it's negative, it needs to be positive.
Okay.
And it's learning the steps about how to do that
Mm-hmm.
so that you can feel happiness, you can feel joy, and you can set full responsibility for what you're doing. And so those that takes time and energy because you got to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to think positive. You have to learn how to get in touch with your feelings. That's why each day I say do a self-examination so that you know where you are. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're dealing with everything and solving it, like for instance, if you say something somebody doesn't understand, take responsibility that you didn't say it clearly. Don't blame that other person because they're stupid or they can't understand anything. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, how could I have said that better so they understood?
Yeah.
And it's learning how to not react to getting your buttons pushed,
Mm-hmm.
reacting and fighting and arguing and defending because the ego, our ego, it wants to shine, it wants to look good, it wants to be right, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to be seen as not knowing something, and it will argue, you'll argue to try to prove you're right, and you don't even realize that you've created a negative situation. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about becoming more aware, and that's where meditation helps, is you still the mind so that you can see. And more through my life, I've learned just to be aware of situations and not react.
And
And also, another thing is people make judgments about things. And I want to give you a definition of judgment.
okay.
Judgment is when, because we make conclusions and make decisions all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
the difference between just drawing a conclusion or having an opinion about something and a judgment is when you make a judgment, there's emotion connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you just draw a conclusion, then there's no emotion to it if it's not judgment. And
Mm-hmm.
so, judgment is when we've attached ourselves to a situation about a belief or something that's happened, and we get our feelings, our emotions, we take it inside, and now this is running our life. And you ask how do you become more positive? It's about you don't let that stuff get in because you don't react that way. But you have to first have awareness in order not to react that way.
Mm. Wow. Thank you for that. Now, in this world, we are not alone, and most of the things that we do, we've got to be connected with people, affected by people, affect other people. How do you deal with the relationships that, and you still continue to be the best version of yourself?
Well, one of the most important things that I think we all want is love. Love is the highest vibration of any energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about learning how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself, if you're not kind to yourself? So it's about learning how to love. And you have to want that and invite that and operate in that energy so that it can grow stronger and stronger and stronger. And I
Mm-hmm.
think our goal is to learn how to love everyone, including ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
be able to let that manifest in our actions, our thinking, by helping other people, by being kind to other people, by having just a spirit that people enjoy being around you. They will look to you as an example of what they would like to be. And it just brings out more positiveness in everybody that you meet when you have that kind of joy and energy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about developing yourself so that you're a magnet and you attract that and people can feel it. I went out to breakfast with my husband last weekend, and
Okay.
I said, "What's going on?" I got out of the car, and we were going to a Denny's, and I got over at the door, and the young man had just come out the door. The door had shut, and he went back and he opened up the door for me, and he says, "I'm your doorman for today." And I said, "Oh, thank you."
Mm-hmm.
And then in the store, I had two people that were walking out that looked at me and smiled and said hello, just strangers I'd never seen before. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the kind of energy and the kind of experiences that we like having in life where we're having that interaction with other people that's positive and kind. And so every time we have a chance to help somebody, I think we should take it and do it and share and learn to love each other more and more. I'll tell you a secret that I wondered all my life. I've read in the Bible, I'd had people say this, preachers and so on. They said, love everybody in the world. And I thought, yeah, I can love my family and my friends, but how do you love people you've never met?
Mm-hmm.
And, in my studying, reading, learning, I realized that everybody inside has a soul and they have a connection that's part of God. And we might not like what people do or their actions sometimes, but we can relate to that part of them that is connected to God and that's perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
we can love everyone for that reason. So I finally learned out what that was about, but it took me a long, long time to learn what that was.
Hmm. Yes, I was coming to that because in your book you talk about your walk with God. Now you are a believer.
Yeah, well, in everything I do, at the bottom foundation is spirituality,
Okay.
and in my work and all these beliefs and work is that love. So my personal behavior is I ask for God to guide me. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things through meditation is you hook into your intuition. You learn how to listen and you get intuition. Intuition has saved my life at least 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so with being able to do this, in my walk with God, I started going to Sunday school. My parents didn't go to church, but I went as a small child. And so I just kept being eager to learn more and more. The thing of it is, I went to Sunday school by myself. I went to a Baptist church. And then when I was 13, we moved to another city. And so I went to a different church, a
Mm-hmm.
different denomination. Well, they said different things. You're sinning if you drink and if you smoke. And the other church said wasn't. So I thought something's wrong here. They can't both be right. But so
Mm-hmm.
I just kept an open mind and kept learning. And when I moved to California, I got more into the spiritual churches like the Unity of Mind, Unity Church, and so on. And I just kept what I had learned and kept adding to it. And so by meditating, getting thoughts, reading books, learning from other people, being guided from within, uh, that was how I learned my walk with God.
Mm. Okay. Now you mentioned going to on a date with your husband last weekend. How long have you been married?
We've been married now 19 years.
Okay.
However,
Mm-hmm.
we met back in 1970 and
Okay.
we dated for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And he never said anything about being serious or how he felt about me or anything, even though we had a wonderful time and we had so many things in common.
Mm-hmm.
So I met somebody else and I moved on and I got married and a few months later.
Mm-hmm.
So several that was back in 70. Then in the meantime, I was cruising and lecturing on cruise ships a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing a lecture on a cruise ship in 1998, going to Acapulco, and I was sitting at the table for four, and there was it was a table for six. The next night, two people appeared at our table.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to make a long story short, it turned out to be Benny, my husband, that
Mm.
was there. And it took me a couple nights to recognize him until he mentioned his business and I was able to connect it. And that's how we re-met each other. So we started sitting so we could talk to each other. And then after the cruise, we started dating and then we got back together again. So, but that ship had over 2,000 passengers and they had been seated in the middle of the ship in the dining room. And his girlfriend wanted a window seat. So they asked to be moved and they were moved to our table.
Oh, interesting.
So that's how
Now,
we met again.
okay, curious to know what became of your first husband. If you have to answer, you don't have to.
To my first husband, you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, he died.
Oh, sorry for that.
Yeah, he died.
Sorry for that. And now you at 92, you're a very sharp lady. I can tell you that. Would you give us the secret to remain that sharp, that bright, and as jolly as you are?
Well, my first answer to that is I just thank God. I thank God for that. And
Mhm.
I don't know how much my genes or I don't know what all contributed to it, but for my part, I try to eat a good diet. I exercise moderately.
Mhm.
Um, but I've always used my mind. My mother used to say, Evelyn, you're going to go crazy. You use your mind so much.
Mhm.
And I read ferociously. I'm a bookaholic. If anything, I love to read. So I love to keep my mind busy. So I
Mhm.
think keeping your mind busy, and also if you clear your mind, I started meditating in 1965, and I'd meditate 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, all through these years. And that means coming to this place and observing, learning to keep you in the present and letting all thoughts go. And so I think that was one of the best things I ever did in my life. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's helped to keep my mind clear and keep the garbage, the negativity, because I'm aware of what I'm thinking and when it comes in, and come right back to the point of the present and let everything go.
Wow, wow, wonderful. So, to anybody who may have joined us in the middle, we are with Evelyn Bart Michaels, and we've been talking about her book known as Insights for Self Transformation, a treasure map to peace, wisdom, and love. This has been a wonderful episode. We thank you, Evelyn, for taking your time to be with us here.
Yeah, and one other thing, if you go to my website, which is insightsforselftransformation.com, you can go to the contact page and click on that, and you can also get information about the fears, and all of the main 31 fears are there with the definitions, and you can just get that information by going there if you'd like.
Yeah, so that's insightsforselftransformation.com.
Right.
Oh, and get the book. Get all those golden nuggets that Evelyn is releasing. We haven't given you everything. She's got quite much more to share.
No, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I don't think that you've got everything. So you go now, go get the book. Go get the book. And we thank Evelyn. Thank you very much, Evelyn, for being with us
It's
here.
my pleasure to be here, and I enjoyed this very much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And before you go, we'd love you to leave us with a few words that we will always remember. Which are those words?
Love yourself and be kind to everyone. That's simple,
Mhm.
but it's very, very important.
Love yourself and be kind to
Make the world a better place because you were here.
everyone. Now you had it. You had it from Evelyn. She knows what she's saying. You can believe me, that she knows what she's saying. Go apply it in your own life. And once again, don't forget to grab her book. Go to her website, insightsforselftransformation.com.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and now that's all. That's all for today. It's been wonderful, and we thank you once again. I can't thank you enough. So let's just go.
Okay. Bye
And
bye.
thank you to all the viewers, all the listeners. Remember to share this episode with your friends. Yes, and subscribe to our channel. And let's keep on reading. Get that advice. Keep on reading. Don't stop reading. Read as much as you can, says Evelyn. Yeah, that's it for now. I've been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with Evelyn but Michaels, we are saying bye for now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.